What will you have done if the family of the girl you want to marry wants you dead? This is a true life inspired story of Ifeanyi, a humble, handsome young man who nearly lost his life because of love. It's a story of pain, heartbreak, and betrayal. Grab your popcorn because what you are about to hear will leave you speechless. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. Like, comment, and share. Share it to your family and friends. Oh yeah, guys, let's go there. In the heart of Obete main market, Enugu, amidst the daily hustle and bustle of buyers and sellers, was a humble young trader named Ifeanyi, very handsome, tall and bold, hardworking and full of dreams. Ifeanyi sold men's accessories, bells, wristwatches and caps. His small kiosk was known not just for good prices, but for his cheerful attitude. Everyone knew Ifeanyi as the fine boy wey sabi smile. But beyond his charm and hustle, Ifeanyi was a man with ambition. He believed that one day he would grow beyond that small shop, own chains of stores, and most of all, build a peaceful, happy home with someone who would love him for who he was. One bright Tuesday morning, as he arranged his wares, a young woman walked past him, Oluchi. She was a customer looking for a birthday gift for her younger brother. Ifeanyi greeted her warmly, and their conversation flowed like they had known each other for years. By the time she left his shop, not only had she bought a wristwatch, but she had also given him her number. That was how it began. Weeks turned to months, calls became visits, and visits turned to deep friendship. Their love blossomed like the flowers in Nsukka after the first rain of the year. They went on evening walks, visited churches together, and helped each other with their goals. There was no rush, no pressure. It was a platonic relationship built on understanding and deep affection. But Oluchi had one fear, her father. His name was Mr. Mba, a retired soldier and a man whose voice alone could silence a room. He was a restrict, commanding man who believed that no man was good enough for his only daughter. Many young men had tried in the past, but none came out smiling. Some were chased away. One even fainted after Mr. Mba slapped him with his military belt. So Oluchi kept her love life a secret. Every time Ifeanyi begged her, let me see your people. I want to be serious with this relationship. Oluchi would say, Ifeanyi, please wait. My father is not someone you just meet like that. But love has a way of pushing fear aside. One Sunday evening, after much begging and persistence from Ifeanyi, Oluchi made up her mind. She would invite him home. But first, she spoke to her mother, Nkechi, a kind woman who always spoke softly and often tried to balance the fire in her husband's heart. Mama, Oluchi said one night while helping her mother peel yam, there is someone I want you to meet. His name is Ifeanyi. He's a good man. He loves me and I love him. Nkechi looked at her daughter carefully and said, does he know your father? And Oluchi answered and said, not yet. Hmm, this one you are bringing man to this house. You know your papa's wahala. And Oluchi replied and said, Mama, please talk to him. Just help me. Let him not disgrace me again. Oh. Nkechi sighed and said, I will try, but this your papa. Only God knows what will happen on that day. Oh. The fateful day is here. It was a quiet Wednesday evening. Ifeanyi wore his best clothes, a clean white shirt tucked into dark trousers, and polished brown shoes. He had even used perfume borrowed from his neighbor, with a small gift bag of fruits and wine in his hand. He walked into enemy's territory. Oluchi's compound. The compound was silent when he entered. Oluchi rushed out and hugged him gently. Her hands were shaking. You are here. Just be polite. Greet well. Don't argue with anything he says. And please don't panic, Oluchi told him. He nodded and smiled nervously. They entered the living room, and there he was, Mr. Mba, sitting like a lion in his den, staring at Ifeanyi with eyes that could melt iron. He didn't smile, he didn't blink, just watched. Good evening, sir, Ifeanyi greeted, kneeling slightly as culture demanded. No reply. Sir, my name is Ifeanyi. I stand up and shut up your mouth, Mr. Mba thundered. Who told you you can talk? The room fell silent. Nkechi tried to speak. Papa, if Ifeanyi is a good woman, don't let me remind you of the kind of man you married. Ifeanyi swallowed hard. Then Mr. Mba stood up, walked slowly toward him, his chest rising and falling like a storm about to break. You, this trader, you think you are good enough for my daughter? My daughter that I have trained like a queen. You sell bells in markets and you think you can enter my family? Listen to me now. You are not the kind of man I wish for, Oluchi. If you know what is good for you, before I enter inside and come out, you better disappear from here, or else you will regret ever stepping into this compound or even knowing my daughter. He turned and walked into his bedroom. Nkechi ran to Ifeanyi and whispered, saying, stand up and go before it gets worse. Please, go, 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 please. As Ifeanyi stood up, confused and heartbroken, suddenly, boom, a gunshot shattered the air. Mr. Mba had come out with his double barrel gun and fired into the sky. Oluchi screamed, Daddy, no! Nkechi fell to her knees. Ewo, don't kill him, oh, don't kill him, oh. Ifeanyi fell flat on the floor, thinking the bullet had hit him. His ears were ringing, his hands shaking, but then he realized he was still breathing, still alive. He jumped up, dropped the gift bag, and ran out of the compound like a madman. He didn't look back, not once, not even when Oluchi shouted his name. The gate slammed behind him. That night, Ifeanyi couldn't sleep. He sat in his room, staring into space, his pride shattered, his heart broken, and one question ringing in his mind: is love truly enough? After the gunshot incident, Mr. Mba became even more dangerous. He locked Oluchi inside the house, seized her phone, and warned her never to go near Ifeanyi again. He even threatened to send her to the village to live with her grandmother if she disobeyed. Oluchi was heartbroken and confused, locked in her room like a prisoner. She cried for days. Her only hope was her best friend, Victoria, a pretty and beautiful girl like her, who had been her classmate and confidant since secondary school. Oluchi trusted Victoria with her life. But what Oluchi didn't know was that Victoria had her own secret desires. Victoria had always admired Ifeanyi from the moment Oluchi introduced him. She had never said it aloud, but in her heart, she wanted him for herself. So when Oluchi begged her and said, please help me send a message to Ifeanyi, tell him I still love him, that I'm ready to run away with him. I'm tired of this house. Victoria smiled and said, no problem, my dear. Leave it for me. I will do exactly as you said. But her heart was burning with envy. When she went to Ifeanyi's small apartment, she didn't carry Oluchi's message as planned. Instead, she carried her own evil plan. Victoria knocked on Ifeanyi's door, smiling sweetly. Ifeanyi was surprised to see her, and he said, ah, Victoria, you? What brings you here? She laughed. Can't I visit a good man? Look, Ifeanyi, I know Oluchi's situation, but let me tell you the truth. She's not worth your stress. I'm here because I want you to know that I am the one who truly loves you. I'm ready to marry you. Forget Oluchi. Ifeanyi's eyes widened in shock and he said, Victoria, are you even listening to yourself? You are her best friend. Victoria stepped closer and said, Yes, but she doesn't deserve you. I can take better care of you. Just give me one chance. Ifeanyi's face turned hard and he said, Get out of my house, Victoria. I said, Get out now and don't ever come here again. She looked embarrassed and angry and she said, So it's like that? You will regret this, Ifeanyi. If I did not deal with you, you will regret it. And she walked away with bitterness in her heart. A week later, Victoria returned to Oluchi's house, pretending to be the same caring friend. My dear, she said, I cooked that your favorite vegetable soup with enough stockfish and periwinkle. Come and eat at my place today. And from there, you can sneak out to go and see Ifeanyi. Oluchi's face lights up. Are you serious? She said. Yes, now, today is your lucky day. Oluchi didn't suspect anything. She quickly changed her clothes and followed Victoria to her place. When they got there, the soup was already hot and waiting. Oluchi ate it with joy, thanking Victoria for being such a good friend. But unknown to her, the soup was poisoned. Victoria smiled as she watched Oluchi lick her fingers clean. Now you can go and meet Ifeanyi before your father comes back, she said sweetly. Oluchi hugged her and left the house happily, walking straight into danger. Oluchi arrived at Ifeanyi's house around 6:30 p.m. He wasn't home yet, but she had a spare key. She entered and sat on the edge of the bed, waiting. But suddenly, her stomach began to tighten. Her vision blurred. She tried to stand up, but her legs failed her. Then she fell to the ground, foaming from her mouth, gasping for air, alone, no one to help her. She lay there unconscious, struggled for life. Around 8 p.m., Ifeanyi came back home after a long day at the market. As he opened his door, he was greeted by a strong smell and silence. Then his eyes landed on Oluchi, lying lifeless on the floor, foam dripping from her mouth. His heart skipped and he shouted, Oluchi, Jesus, Oluchi! He rushed to her, screaming her name, shaking her, but there was no response. He carried her like a baby and ran outside shouting for help. Neighbors helped him get a keke and they rushed to Divine Mercy Hospital in Enugu. As soon as Oluchi's parents heard that their daughter was in the hospital, they stormed the hospital in anger. When they saw Ifeanyi sitting in the hallway, shirt stained with sweat and tears in his eyes, Mr. Mba didn't ask questions. He just shouted, So you finally killed her? You poisoned my daughter. You will die today. Before Ifeanyi could explain, two angry men grabbed him and dragged him out of the hospital. They beat him mercilessly. Punches, kicks, slaps, blood. They carried him to a secluded bush path and continued beating him until they were sure he was dead. They left his body lying in the dark bush, thinking justice had been served. But God was not asleep. Early the next morning, a farmer passing by saw something strange by the side of the bush path. It was a young man, barely breathing, soaked in blood. The farmer called some villagers and they quickly rushed Ifeanyi to another hospital. Meanwhile, Onlichi was still in a coma. Her condition critical. Doctors were confused about what poisoned her. No one had the answers yet. Nkechi wept at her daughter's bedside, begging God to save her. But Mr. Mba didn't care. All he wanted was Ifeanyi to rot in jail or in the grave. He didn't know the real enemy was the one smiling close to them, Victoria. After one full month in a coma, The doctors began to notice changes in Oluchi's breathing and brain activity. Her eyes twitched, her fingers moved, and then one morning, as the sun rose gently into the sky, Oluchi opened her eyes. Her mother, Nkechi, who had been by her bedside day and night, jumped up in tears and shouted, "Doctor! Doctor! She's awake!" Nurses rushed in. Doctors examined her quickly, but after a series of scans and tests, their expressions turned serious. They called Mrs. Nkechi and Mr. Mba aside and said, "Your daughter is alive, yes, but we discovered something very critical," the senior doctor said. "The poison she ate has done major internal damage, especially to her reproductive system." "What does that mean, doctor?" Nkechi asked with shaking hands. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "Her womb was severely damaged and had to be removed to save her life. Your daughter will never be able to carry her own children," the doctor said. Nkechi burst into tears. Mr. Mba turned pale and speechless. When Oluchi was fully awake and stable, the family gathered around her. Everyone wanted to hear what happened. They had believed Ifeanyi poisoned her, but now they wanted to know the truth. Her father leaned in and said, "My daughter, thank God you are alive. Don't worry about anything. That foolish boy Ifeanyi won't come near you again. I have taken care of him." But Oluchi gasped and sat up weakly and said, "No, Papa, Ifeanyi is innocent," she cried. Everyone turned in shock. Then, in a trembling voice, she told them everything and said, "Victoria came to our house that day and told me she cooked my favorite soup. She said I should eat and then sneak to see Ifeanyi. I trusted her. I ate the food at her house. Then I went to Ifeanyi's place. He wasn't around, but I had my own key. I entered to wait. Then suddenly I started having terrible stomach pain. I was dying. That's the last thing I remembered." The room was dead silent. Nkechi dropped to her knees and began to cry. Mr. Mba stood still, his lips trembling, and he said, "Then Ifeanyi really wasn't the one?" "No, Papa, Ifeanyi saved my life. He brought me here. Victoria wanted to kill me," Oluchi said. Immediately, the hospital contacted the police and a team was sent to arrest Victoria. But Victoria had already heard rumors from social media that Oluchi had woken up. She had packed her bags, hoping to run to another state. Her plan was to escape to Benin City that evening. But just as she was about to enter a taxi, police officer in plain clothes surrounded her and said, "Miss Victoria Nwoke, you are under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder." She screamed and tried to run, but they grabbed her and threw her into the van. During interrogation, Victoria broke down in tears. She confessed everything and said, "I loved Ifeanyi," she cried. "I wanted him. I was jealous of Oluchi. I thought if I got rid of her, he would turn to me. But he rejected me, insulted me. I didn't plan for her to reach his house. I put just enough poison to stop her on the way. I didn't mean for her to make it." The police recorded everything. She was charged with attempted murder, poisoning, and conspiracy. The news spread like wildfire. Meanwhile, in another hospital across the city, Ifeanyi slowly regained consciousness. His body was weak, his face swollen, his ribs cracked, but he was alive. His family, mother, brother, and aunties sat by his bedside, taking turns to nurse him. When Ifeanyi was finally recovered and discharged from the hospital, he went back to his business, and before now, there was a business contract he has been pursuing, and now the contract has clicked, and that required him to move out of Enugu to a bigger city, Abuja. As he moved to Abuja, he lost every contact with Oluchi because he was scared of his life. And Oluchi's father thought Ifeanyi was dead because they don't have any information about him again. So when Oluchi was discharged from the hospital, she tried to reach out for Ifeanyi, but when she got to Ifeanyi's former house, she was told that Ifeanyi has packed out of the house, and when she cannot find Ifeanyi's whereabouts, she couldn't get over it. She withdrew herself from almost everything, keeping to herself, no more friends, and was now living a lonely life. After 8 years away in Abuja, Ifeanyi had grown into a wealthy and respected businessman. His company had expanded beyond what he ever imagined, and he had built a quite decent life, though something in his heart still felt missing. He returned to Enugu for a brief business visit, never expecting that one random stop at a fuel station would change everything. That was where he saw him, Mr. Mba, Oluchi's father. For a moment, both men stood frozen. The air was thick with tension. Mr. Mba blinked, dropped the bottle of water he was holding, and stammered and said, Ifeanyi, are you alive? Ifeanyi gave a small nod, unsure of what to say, but what happened next shocked him. Mr. Mba fell to his knees right there at the corner of the fuel station and began to beg and said, My son, please forgive me. I wronged you. I pushed you away when you meant well. Please forgive me. Embarrassed by the attention, Ifeanyi quickly lifted him up and said, Papa, stand up. People are watching. Mr. Mba wiped his face and said, Let me tell you what you don't know. Since that incident, after my daughter came out of the coma, she has been living an isolated life and she has vowed never to marry any other man than you, Ifeanyi. And everyone in the family has tried to make her to move on with her life. Even I myself, I have tried to convince her to travel out of the country, go somewhere like Canada, US, or any other country of her choice. But she refused. And do you really know what happened to my daughter Oluchi? Mr. Mba continued. It was her friend Victoria who poisoned her, and because of that, her womb was damaged. So, in order to save her, her womb was removed, of which she cannot carry her own babies anymore. Ifeanyi's heart was beating hard. He didn't expect this. Then Mr. Mbak added with a heavy voice and said, All this happened because of you. Oluchi said she was coming to your house for you people to run away. So please, Ifeanyi, come and marry my daughter. I beg of you. You are the only one that can renew her hope in life. After hearing all this, Ifeanyi was very shocked and surprised. Ifeanyi is not yet married and he still loves Oluchi, but he's now confused of how everything has turned out, so he seek for wise counsel, which they told him that that is not the end of the world, that if he still loves the girl, then he should go ahead and marry her, and that there is nothing God cannot do. So this is where our story ends for now, but if there is any new updates, I will bring it along for us to hear. So, guys, what is your opinion? If you have to advise Ifeanyi in this situation, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and also touch the bell button so that you will be notified each time we put out new video. Subscribe for more stories with powerful life lessons. Please and please subscribe to help us grow our channel. And please don't forget to leave your comments, your suggestion, or even your questions in the comment section, and we'll come back to deal with it. God bless you all as you do so. Love you. Bye bye. Mwah.